What's up, guys? Welcome back to the garage. I'm out here brainstorming my updates for my power rankings. The official video will be out probably Friday of this week, and I'll also have it up on my website. But I thought, why not record a little bit of this brainstorming session to kind of go over some of the notable titles that have premiered at the various film festivals that have been going on in the last week or so. Most notably, of course, the Venice Film Festival and Telluride, which were both kind of going on simultaneously, showing a lot of the same films. We gotten a lot of premieres for what were thought to be OSCARS players. Some of them may be dead in the water. Some of them are kind of still a question mark. And some of them are like took big jumps towards like we might be seeing this thing in January pretty easily now. Let me look at a couple of them real quick with you guys. So we'll start with J. Kelly. This is obviously the Noah Baumbach film featuring George Clooney. So looking at the reviews here, which is what I'm going to kind of go on for the most part, the letterbox curve is not bad. 3.2 is a little mid in terms of what you would want in a Best Picture nominee. And of course, if you expected it to win, around a 6 on IMDb out of 10, 87% overall on Rotten Tomatoes, which is 26 fresh and only 4 rotten. Now that's an all or nothing system over on Rotten Tomatoes, so you don't want a rotten score because then that really hurts you overall, because that means most of the critics are saying it's either a thumbs down or a thumbs up. They're giving it a thumbs down. So in this case, a lot of them, 87% of them, are getting a thumbs up. The one that I really look to, at least in terms of predictions, is Metacritic, because the weighting in their system is a lot more favorable to kind of how people feel when you're looking at that score. Now, they are in the green because Metacritic has red, yellow, and green. I think below a 60 is when you cross over into the yellow. So it's 66 right now on Metacritic, and you see the breakdown there. Only 1 negative review, 9 positive, and 6 mixed reviews, which would be, and that's what I mean, Rotten Tomatoes doesn't do that. So mixed review would be like there was a lot of good things about the film, but there was also a few bad things, or vice versa. So it was kind of like, yeah, it was good, but it wasn't like amazing. And that can kind of go a long way in terms of predictions too. When it comes to J. Kelly and the predictions, this is, by the way, how fucking crazy I am. These are the spreadsheets that I'm currently using for my predictions, but I'll go to the website to make it a little easier for you guys to look at. And then let me move my camera out of the way here a little bit. So as you can see, what I had in August, as this has not been updated yet, so I had it right here at my number 4, and that was up from the previous month, is what that green arrow means. It was 6 the previous month. Based on what I've been reading in terms of the reviews, like if we go back to Letterboxd, a lot of people I trust are there in Venice or Telluride. Matt, I know personally, and he's not going to blow smoke up anybody's ass. I mean, that's, you see there are 4 stars. I'm not going to read the full review, but I have heard that George Clooney shines, as does Adam Sandler, who's the scene stealer in the movie. But then I also I haven't really heard anything negative about Sandler, which I love. And I do have him in my supporting 5 still. But I have heard some people, probably in that mixed side, when you're looking at the Metacritic, for example, of saying that Clooney is a little dry or a little too much like himself, which is kind of funny and ironic, because in the movie, that's essentially what's happening. And a lot of people say George Clooney only plays himself, and here he is doing that, and then he's being critiqued for doing that. So I don't know. It might be a little too meta for the Academy. I'm not sure. As of right now, though, when you're thinking of Netflix as a player, we're going to look at a couple other ones. I think J. Kelly should still probably be the play. And in looking at Ballad of a Small Player, which I had extremely high hopes for, when you go down here to the details from the critics and stuff, the curve here is pretty crazy on Letterboxd. Sometimes this is hard because this is the general public, right? This isn't, licensed critics or approved critics on the site. This is anybody. This is me. This is you. So these half stars are probably stupid. 1 star, I mean, that is most likely not going to be the case. But then again, 5 star doesn't look like it's going to be the case either. So you have a lot of this like 2.5, 2.5, and 3 ratings, which is not going to get you very far in the Best Picture discussion. And as I said before, Metacritic needs to be in the green for me. It could be a 60, it could be a 90. If it's in the green, I'm comfortable with it being in my Best Picture lineup of 10. I mean, it's not. It's at 51%. Now, most of those are mixed and there's no negative, which is a good thing, and it's 70 on Rotten Tomatoes, which is also a good thing. 7.4 on IMDb is even better than J. Kelly, if you remember from the previous slide. So you see these reviews from folks I know personally. There's nothing higher than a 3, and that's my boy Matt. You got a lot of 2s, 2.5s, and these are people I trust. Even the 3, which is a fairly positive score overall out of 5, it's not what you want to be. So that just tells me there's something missing for Edward Berger in this film. Now, when my predictions come out in a few days, I am still not as confident as I was after seeing the trailer, but I'm still somewhat confident of Colin Farrell being a player, no pun intended, for lead actor, just because I think his name and his lineage, if that performance is good enough, even if the movie is somewhat mixed overall, he could get in. I don't think it's going to be a tall order because he's not going to have the success of the picture from an awards standpoint. So right now, in looking at this kind of scorecard, if you will, I think Ballad of a Small Player is dead. I do. I don't like being reactionary, so I want to wait another month or two. I'm going back next. What other Netflix? Frankenstein. Let's look at Frankenstein next. Let's see where that one stands. So Guillermo del Toro is another one very similar to Edward Berger I was talking about earlier. And let's look at the details on this one too. Where if he's in the mix, if he's making a movie basically that meets the criteria for the Academy, you got to have it on your radar. And I do, and you should. I am of the belief that this is going to be predominantly a technical player for GDT and for Netflix. I think, hair and makeup is probably a no-brainer. Visual effects, perhaps. Cinematography, production design, almost for sure with a GDT film and some of the stills I've seen. You could have performances in the mix. I've heard some great things, which I didn't expect. Not that I don't like him, because I do, but about Jacob Elordi as the monster. That's, similar to what Skarsgård was up against playing, Nosferatu. And it's like, yeah, it's really amazing and unbelievable to see, but is it like Oscar, And apparently it is. So that's great for him. I think Oscar Isaac could be a play too. I had him in my 10 in August, and I don't really know what I'm going to do yet for September, but in looking at the breakdown here, very high on IMDb this early. 95 10 out of 10 ratings is a lot, and I know not a lot of people have seen it, but that's a lot based on the data that we have. So 7.3 overall, 77 on Rotten Tomatoes, only 7 rotten, and I would tend to think that might be people that think the movie's too long, overlong, and kind of drawn out in the middle, which I've heard from really almost everybody's review that I've read has said that at one point or another, or in one way or another, even if they're positive on it. I think Netflix, it's at least believable to say that they would have 2 in for Best Picture. I don't think they get 3, especially with some of these mixed reactions we've seen. So is their second one Frankenstein and Small Players out? I think Jay Kelly is probably going to have enough love in the industry, because that is definitely an industry type of film. It feels like a movie made for them, literally, for the Academy, and for the Hollywood, people. I don't want to sound degrading, but you know what I mean. The other one they have in the mix is Catherine Bigelow's House of Dynamite, which I think is going to be at the NIF Film Festival, the New York Film Festival, and it hasn't really screened for anyone yet, so we don't really know what that one's going to be in terms of Oscar worthiness, or is that just going to be a great Netflix action movie? We don't really know yet. It's not the final end-all be-all, but eventually, and looking right here at Frankenstein at 15, it's probably going to be a swap out for Ballad of a Small Player if I keep 2 Netflixes in, because right now I just have 1 Netflix in, but I haven't finalized it yet. So we'll see. Let's look at The Smashing Machine next, because that one just premiered today, and this is one that I don't think it's fair to say that I've been a hater of, but I just haven't been a believer in this one quite yet. And it's not because I don't want to be, because I grew up watching pro wrestling. I love The Rock. He was very charismatic in the ring. He was a great action star. Tons of movies that he's been in, action, Disney, family films, otherwise, I really, really enjoy. And I think he's a great entertainer, but I just am having this blockage of being able to tell myself the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences is going to nominate Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson for a lead acting award. I just feel like saying it is almost like I'm joking. Like, I just don't see how that would possibly happen. Now, could it happen? Of course. And based on what I'm seeing about his transformative performance and what Safdie does with kind of a abundant source material with this, pro athlete who is a washed up and who wants to fix his life but still kind of go out in a blaze of glory. And, we've seen it literally a thousand times. And the Academy's nominated a few of them. Could it happen? Yes. I think The Iron Claw would have been a great nominee in its year, and it got zilch. So I'm okay with this type of story getting nominated. sports dramas, or even more specifically wrestling/boxing films. So as you can see, a 75 on Metacritic already in the green, which, as I told you, at this stage of the game is big for me. 7.6 is high. 17 10 out of 10 ratings there, and an 88 overall with only 2 negative reviews so far on the Smashing Machine. It sounds like it's going to be a formulaic story, but that the performances in a pretty underwritten story by The Rock and Emily Blunt in the supporting role are going to carry this thing to prominence during award season, to where it's at least going to be in the conversation from now to the end of the year. I don't see it getting him for picture. I just don't. And I'm one of the very, very, very few people, if anybody, that don't have Marty Supreme in their 10 either. The single Safdie brother directing a film, regardless of who your actor is. You got The Rock here, right? Action star or wrestler in the zeitgeist, but not an Academy actor. And then you have Timothée Chalamet, Timmy, my guy, in Marty Supreme, who is a seasoned actor that the Academy obviously loves, a multiple nominee at a very young age. But neither of those projects, regardless of those performances and those leads, I don't feel good about. Now, they could both get in for all I know, but I just don't feel good about them based on the source material and who's directing the projects, on what the Academy has done in the past with new directors. Now, if the Safdie brothers are together, like the Coen brothers when they were together, that's one thing. But that was a thing, and we had Uncut Gems a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, in the mix, especially for Adam Sandler in acting, and it got nothing. So I'm not saying it can't happen, and we're very early in the game here. I just think that this could be a performance player. I don't see it in Best Picture, though, and I definitely don't see it for director yet. We'll see how it plays out. In terms of where I had it, I didn't even have it in my 20 in August, The Smashing Machine for Best Picture. An actor, I'll show you that real quick, because I know The Rock is going to be on everybody's mind. This is August, but I didn't even have him in my 10 in August, because I just don't think the Academy will go for it. I don't think that they'll sit there with their hot tea and their little, what are the feather pens that they used? I know that's not everybody on the Academy these days, but I just don't see that playing out. It would just be really weird, especially when you have actors like Daniel Day-Lewis in contention, Leonardo DiCaprio, Brendan Fraser, a recent winner, Clooney. You have all these seasoned, veteran, nominated, winning actors up for the role, for the award, and The Rock would swoop in and get into the final 5. I find that to be a far fetch, even though I'm not doubting that his performance is probably phenomenal. Now, if he puts a few of these under his belt in the next 5 years or so, then yeah, that's what Adam Sandler's having to do. I mean, that's a perfect example. And of course, he wasn't a wrestler and an action star, but he's a comedy star, and he's having to do that. He's having to put some stuff on that resume that speaks to the Academy. So I don't know that they're going to do it for The Rock after just one of those. But I will tell you, these numbers look really good, and it's making me second guess. Another one that we got a premiere of very recently is The Testament of Ann Lee, which is the new Mona Fastfold directed film where Brady Corbet is a co-writer on that, of course, The Brutalist, and producer on the film as well. And this one really surprised me for a lot of different reasons. First of all, this is the craziest shit I've seen for a Letterboxd curve in a long time, and I go on Letterboxd daily. So I was looking at some stuff on Twitter, just like my wife was driving today, and I was looking at stuff, and I think these are review bombs. There's 70 ratings of a half star, so I think these are trolls review bombing on Letterboxd, whereas everything probably past this to the right is probably not a review bomb, because these are probably legitimate takes on the movie. Anything like, or you could maybe even say a 2 even. So anything like here, like 1.5 and below, I'm not buying, which is a lot. I mean, that's 70-40. I mean, you could even argue that many people even see it that would think that lowly of it. So this is weird. But if from here to here is the curve, the real curve, that's not bad. In fact, that's leaning much more positive. And over time, especially once the film is released, I think this curve is going to kind of balance out to where it looks a lot more normal, because right now it's fucking weird. Because I don't see how you could have 70 half stars and almost 75 stars for the same movie. Looking at the other details, we have another green in the 70s, which is great. Great for that movie. And 100% currently, which I think is the only one of the ones that we're looking at that premiered this weekend. That's the only one that is at 100% so far, with 13 positive. Obviously 0 negative. This movie for me, let me go back to picture, that I had just added in August at 18 as a debut into the top 20. And looking at its potential to be in that 10 for Best Picture, would be following like the brutalist route. You know, where's the distributor for the film, which always gives me pause. Unless it's been announced literally today or yesterday, I don't think there is one. Now, if there's been one announced since like Sunday and I don't know, then please forgive me. But as I'm sitting here recording, I don't think there's a distributor for it yet. So that always gives me pause. I'm not going to put a movie in my tent if it doesn't have a distributor. Because not only does it obviously need one for people to see the movie, namely the Academy members, it also, we need to know who it is, right? At least I do in terms of my predictions. Because if it's Netflix, for example, which, God, I hope it's not for a movie like that. But let's just say, if Netflix got Ann Lee, that's not going anywhere near my best picture predictions, unless I think that Jay Kelly's weak enough to fall out of there and Frankenstein's not getting in there and they don't have any other player. Then maybe. If Focus picks it up, they have Hamnet and Begonia. That's going to be tough. So you see what I'm getting at here? So it's going to kind of depend on who gets it. If it's Sony Pictures Classics, they don't really have a major player right now. If it's Searchlight, they've got Rental Family, but not much else. If it's Amazon and GM, After the Hunt is probably dead, which is another we're going to look at. So it depends on who it is. If it's Neon, I love Neon, and they do a great job, and so does A24, but they're stacked. Campaigns are expensive as shit, you know, so I don't know that it's going to matter who that distributor is for Ann Lee. There's a couple more I want to look at. The first one is Hamnet from Chloe Zhao. I am never, ever on this channel like I told you so, or do you guys remember when I mean, unless it's like a matter of fact, I'm never like spending multiple diatribes and commentaries telling you how right I am. I never do that. But I bring that up to say that I had Hamnet in my initial 10 for picture. I had Jesse Buckley and Paul Mescal both in initially. And director for Chloe Zhao, those 4 main top-of-the-line categories. I have had Hamnet in the nominees since March. But overall, that film has been top tier for nominees for me. Because of, none of these reviews I saw because they just came out. Because of the subject matter, the people involved in the project. Chloe Zhao is an Oscar-winning director. She would be the first woman since Jane Campion to be nominated a second time for Best Director as a female if it happens. Jesse Buckley and Paul Mescal are both previous nominees, very recently actually, and they are 2 of the youngest, hottest actors in Hollywood in terms of the craft of acting. The film is a period piece, costumes, makeup, production design. All that shit's on the table. Adapted screenplay. I mean, I literally see no ceiling for this movie except maybe visual effects. I don't see anything that this movie could not get nominated for aside from original song and visual effects. I mean, everything else is on the table for this movie. And I've always thought that. And I just find it hilarious and kind of like ironically prideful for me when people come on board with something that seemed far-fetched. And in the early stages of this thing in March, I was calling Hamnet and Eleanor the Great. I was throwing those 2 out there early on, and one of them looks like it's probably going to be right. Might even be looking at the winner here, guys, for Best Picture. And the other one, unfortunately, unless maybe June Squibb has a last-second Hail Mary, that one might not work out. But I threw those out there because they both had what I see in my mind as being Oscar, I don't know if bait's the right word, but Oscar potential. But I was just flabbergasted that there were so many people in this space that do this all the time that didn't go, oh, Hamnet is fucking in. Just literally by reading the synopsis and who's in it and who directed it. And I mean, there's not much else in that for me. There was no science in that. But now, taking that, what I felt great about already, and looking at the science, if you will. I mean, look at this, guys. Look at this curve right here. No review bombs on this thing, I'll tell you. Wow. That is a curve. You got 4 people that said 2 stars. A few more that said 2.5, and then it just goes up and up, and you have 113 5-star ratings for a film that premiered, I think, yesterday at Venice. It's at Telluride today, I think. I haven't seen the results from that even, aside from what might be here in front of me. 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, an 8.4, which might be the highest that we've seen on this video, and a 95 on Metacritic out of 100. 7 positive. Man, it is looking like I was right. I told you guys I wasn't going to say that. But this is a movie that just was a no-brainer for me when I read about it in March. Much like the I Told You So with Hamnet, I also never bought into After the Hunt as being an Oscar player, with the exception of Julia Roberts, who I actually still have in my 5. And I thought that if After the Hunt's going to get anything aside from maybe adapted screenplay, which I also think is out now based on some of the reviews I've read, it would get Julia Roberts the lead actress nomination because she would be coming back to the Academy for the first time in like 20 years. And because it's Julia Roberts giving possibly one of the best performances of her career. You know, the Academy and Luca Guadagnino have a weird relationship, and I don't get it. But the Academy doesn't recognize his films. They just don't. Call Me by Your Name was the last one that got any major nominations, and that was in 2017. Looking at the scores and stuff is going to kind of solidify what I'm talking about, not just from the Academy, of course, but just from the general critical consensus. 48% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I told you earlier, if a movie's rotten, I'm never predicting it for Best Picture. So that right away is like, okay, well, that's done for me. Could it come back, make a comeback when it comes out in theaters to the general public? Sure. But it doesn't look good. And it's also not in the green on Metacritic. It's a 55 there and a 6.7 on IMDb. The curve on Letterboxd is not horrible. You have actually quite a few 4-star ratings in this like 3 to 4 range, which is not horrible. But this Metacritic score and this Rotten Tomato score tell me that it is not a Best Picture player. And the reviews are too all over the place. You know, usually, at least if you're in that 10 for Best Picture, and definitely if you're in contention to win it, it's usually a consensus like, we're all for this. I do still think Julia Roberts is a player, but that's it. Michael Strahlberg, maybe. I added him recently to my like top 12 or so because I love him and I know he's a great actor, and I had heard some of the reviews praising his performance over one like Io Debris, who, again, I never put her in my 5 for supporting, but I love her. I just never thought to myself, this is an Academy nominated actress yet. Too young in her career and too much of a kind of scandalous role that I just didn't see it happening. Now, all the trolls and stuff, I read that she recently deleted her Letterboxd because everybody was being so rude and mean and trolly to her about, you know, not doing a performance that's Oscar worthy. I mean, it was so sad and stupid, and I hate people who use movies as a weapon. You know, it's just like, she's an amazing performer. She's hilarious. She's beautiful. She's a great actress. She's in a Luca film. I mean, you know, she's going to be fine. She's going to do projects that are going to lend to her talents, and she's going to keep working with directors like that. And she's going to find her role. And the last one that I want to talk about on this video, and then I'll give a quick scorecard rundown, but that's Park Chan-wook's No Other Choice, a film that I had in my international feature since the beginning of waking up March 1st, or whenever the day after the Oscars were this past March. And yeah, Park Chan-wook is due a moment. I said that on a video with my buddy Fuji and previously mentioned Matt from MVP, that I think when it happens for him, it's going to be like, that's the barrier that he has to get past. Once he gets past that, and it happens, and he's in picture and director and maybe one of his lead actors and screenplay and whatever, like a Parasite type moment, then it's going to be like, Park Chan-wook's in this, and that's going to that nomination is going to be the key that unlocks just unbridled potential for what the film could be from an awards on his mantle from an awards perspective. Now, will it get into picture? Let's look at some of these stats too. So this is Neon. Let me go back to because this has got to be broken down when I'm brainstorming, which is what I'm doing, because I'm not giving you this final video until probably Friday for September. I try to do as seriously as I can, but in looking at what Neon's got on the table, we all know, if you follow this type of material, we all know Sentimental Values getting nominated. I would be literally blown away if that didn't get nominated. That I would probably faint. So that's going to happen. So that's a one player. So they get one more movie. Okay. So the Palm winner was also theirs, it was just an accident by celebrated filmmaker Jafar Panahi, who could be seen as a bit of a rebel in the film industry, doing things kind of against the Iraqi government, but for the art of cinema. That's going to go a long way in terms of narrative, on top of probably being a great film. This is another one that screened at both of those festivals and in Cannes and has tremendous reviews so far. So if Neon's got that in, which I've had it at 10 since Cannes, I literally haven't moved it. It's been at number 10 since it won the Palm, because I can't take it out because of that stat where Titane is the only movie, I think, in this off the top of my head, but I think in like the last 6 or 7 years, it's the only Neon film to win the Palm that's not gotten nominated for Best Picture. So 6 out of 7 years, I think that's happened. That's a staggering statistic that I just don't want to go against that right now until there's another Neon film that's stronger for whatever reason, whatever that pro and cons column is, or what my boy Ryan Castleman does with the lab jacket on, until that science project comes out and we can say, okay, this Neon, whether that's The Secret Agent or No Other Choice, or if they pick up Ann Lee, if that's stronger than having the Palm, then you can't refute it, then maybe. But that combo right now is leaving it in the 10 for me, probably even with this video that I have coming out this week. I just haven't seen anything negative about the film, and it has the Palme d'Or. I mean, that's it for me. So I don't know that No Other Choice can get in because of that, because of there's no room for it. But in looking at this, if there is a pros and cons list being developed over the next couple months, and you got No Other Choice as a Neon player, and you have Just an Accident as a Neon player, because we all know Sentimental Value is getting in, then which of those two movies' pros column is longer? Right now, the Palme d'Or is the pro for Just an Accident. And then over here for No Other Choice, you've got the staggering rave reviews for a filmmaker who is arguably more celebrated internationally. Not that it's that type of competition, but he's probably at least better well known and is kind of thought to be more due for a moment with the American award system, the Academy in particular. But 8 on IMDb is high, 100 obviously is the highest you can be, and an 88 with nothing negative or mixed on Metacritic. So if I was just looking at this and I didn't have the poster and I didn't know what movie this was, I would say that's an Oscar nominee for Best Picture. Just looking at that right side. You have to factor other stuff in. You know, it's an international film. It's probably going to be an international feature. So that doesn't happen a lot. It does happen, and we've seen it happen in recent memory, but it doesn't happen a lot. And it really takes something special for that to happen. And I think if anybody can deliver that type of special delivery for something like that to happen, it would be somebody like Park Chan-wook. As celebrated as he is with some of the classic films that he's given us, and I'm talking about the world, it's going to be a wait and see situation, which really it is for all these. But that was the last major one I wanted to talk about. So to run through the ones I discussed tonight real quick, and then I'll give you if I'm leaving it in, if it's rest in peace, if it's whatever it, and I'm just talking about for picture right now. All right, so here we go. So Jay Kelly is staying in my 10 for Best Picture right now. And Adam Sandler for supporting, that's probably about it though. Ballad of a Small Player, rest in peace. I am still holding out hope for Colin Farrell, and he is probably going to hang around in my 10 until that gets proven otherwise. Frankenstein, this is the biggest question mark for me. I don't know. I am probably leaving it out of my 10 for the month of September. But stay tuned, because it could very easily show back up in October. The Smashing Machine, not a Best Picture player. I've always said that. If I get proven wrong, I'll admit that I was wrong. But I do not think this will show up maybe anywhere on Oscars morning, but definitely not in Best Picture. I think the biggest possibility it has is for Emily Blunt as a previous nominee. And if Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is as impressionable as the campaign can make him seem to be, then maybe. But right now, I think Emily Blunt or nothing. The Testament of Ann Lee, not right now. It's not going in my 10 right now until we find out if it gets a distributor and who the distributor is. Also, I want to see further reactions of this film. I know it's a musical, that's always tricky. So right now, no, but it is definitely one that could show up. I do have really high hopes, and I do believe in Amanda Seyfried though, and I think she could very easily end up in that Actress 5 this year. Hamnet, yes, that's in. Of course that's in. I told you guys in March that would be in. I also think it's in for multiple nominations. I'm going to say it's probably going to get 8 to 12 nominations. Like, it literally could get everything that it's up for. After the Hunt, nope, rest in peace, you're dead, you're buried 6 feet under. The only hope, and I think actually as I'm sitting here right now, I do think is going to happen, and that's Julia Roberts being in the 5 for lead actress, and a far, far, far Hail Mary magic trick for Michael Strahlberg in supporting, but I don't think that'll really happen either, although he'll be in the discussion. But After the Hunt is dead for Best Picture. And No Other Choice, we just talked about from Park Chan-wook. Right now, I'm going to say no for being in for Best Picture, just because I have 2 Neon films in there that I think are staying put, at least for now. Park Chan-wook could impress, and that movie rise in the charts outside of international. And if that's the case, it could slide in very easily as Neon's second Best Picture nominee. But right now, in the month of September, it's probably still outside of my 10. That's it. I'm going to edit this down. You're going to see what you see in terms of my brainstorming session. I usually do this as a live feed for my members, which I still might actually do because the video is not going to be out till Friday. But I wanted to just record myself doing this and kind of come up with my predictions in real time to let you guys know. Speaking of members, I gave away Final Destination Bloodlines to one of them last month. I give away a 4K digital code to a member every single month. This month, I was looking through. I like to do new releases. So I was looking through. I'm going to give away a copy of The Accountant 2, which I don't know if I should tell you I haven't seen yet. Sorry, Ben. I know you're watching. I know you're a fan of the channel. Fellow Red Sox fan, Ben Affleck, and I got you. But anyway, I'm going to give that to one of my members for the month of September. And you get all other kinds of sweet perks too. If you're into that, just click join down below. You can read and watch my promo video all about it. And if you want to give me as little as a couple bucks a month out here, I would really appreciate it. Thanks for considering it. And at the very least, subscribe, because this Friday, my September updated power rankings / early predictions for the upcoming Academy Awards will be laid out there for the month of September. And I do these predictions and power rankings once a month, leading up until about mid-November-ish, and then I'll start throwing in below the line. I'll start doing it even more frequently as we lead into the winter months and some of the different guilds start to give out their nominations. So it's going to get wild up in here. Make sure you guys subscribe. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you out here next time in the garage.